We are here once again with another assembly slash disassembly video. Today that's gonna be about 3D printed kit of CZ Scorpion EVO 3 Plus. Maybe you are wondering what the plus means. It's a version for American market which have slightly different design, also as it's using AR style mag release and not the pedal one which you can find on normal EVO 3. And also we have a slightly different grip profile. You might know EVO 3 by ASG, which is using their special version of gearbox. It's something in between V2 and V3. My version is using your normal V3 gearbox. And as for magazines, we are using for now MP5 short max with a custom printed outer shell. So just get yourself short MP5 HG magazines and just swap out the shells. These magazines are free to download with step files, so you can mod them to your liking. Now let's get to the disassembly. So first of all, we will start by removing the magazine. You can see the textures. AR styled magazine release is working. Then we will remove our dummy silencer. Okay, I managed to remove it with a barrel extension. Then take your 3D printed barrel nut tool. The original black part is for short hand guard. If you, I don't know, changing your mind and like me, you printed a longer one, don't worry, you don't need to print the whole tool, just print this extension which I have here in red. So the barrel nut is removed. Now we can take the handguard apart and we will remove our charging handle and this pin in front, this one. Now to the disassembly, we will remove our motor plate or grip bottom plate. Do not recall how I named it, but it's gonna be in folder with grip files. So now there's nothing inside, but you would find your mid-size AEG motor there. I made myself this one from a long axle motor just to save some money, but I'm waiting for the proper one. Now we will remove our stock adapter, which is done by sticking something inside this hole and pressing the backplate button. Now we will remove all these screws which are holding our upper receiver halves together. Size of each screw, or how many of each parts you have to print. All that info you can find in included bills of materials, or if you are still not sure what to get, you can visit our Discord server and ask in a feedback channel of EVO Fred. So if one half is assembled, what we have is a button that is holding our stock plate in place, this one and its housing, and also a spring for the button. If you are using a quick spring change gearbox like me, you can change the spring by just removing screw that was here. Then you can remove this assembly, change the spring. You don't need to remove all these screws, just the one that was here. Now the right side of the upper receiver with a dummy bolt with bolt imitation. I hope it's visible. We have here a spring which is AR15AG bolt imitation spring, or you can actually use anything that will fit for you. Now let's remove a grip. We already removed the bottom plate. Now we will remove the grip itself. Also, it's done like on any AR Airsoft rifle. Just remove two screws that are all the way down in the grip. So that's that. These screws are just for the imitation there. And now front pin, which will allow us to remove our barrel, of course, and this screw. Now we can remove the barrel. From the barrel and hop-up assembly, we can remove our base block for the outer barrel, and we have here our custom hop-up. So how's that? How's it assembled? We have here yet again normal C-clip, which you use to index the barrel inside the hop-up unit. Here it's something similar to your AK hop-up design. That means that we have like this arm in here and the slider. The slider is lifting the arm up and down. The arm is pushing on this part, which is on the spring tension, and it's directly pushing on your hop-up knob. Almost same as on AK, except that we have this part here just to translate the arm movement down there, because the hop-up is rather tall. So that's our hop-up. Now we can remove the gearbox from the lever receiver. Before we talk about the gearbox, let's talk about the lever receiver. What we have here is bolt release imitation. It's just there again on the spring tension, meaning that you insert a spring there, the imitation, and a screw, so you know it can move up and down. We have here left and right fire selector. On the right I'm using just this, you know, cap, let's say. It's moving, but because there was a rather bigger slack in, you know, in between those levers, I opt for this selector cap. This thing is mentioned mag release. It's from 3 parts actually. Your normal mag release button on the right side, the base of the release right there, and this ambidextrous lever. The ambidextrous lever is connected to the base by a pin, and there is a spring which keeps the tension on it. I hope it's visible. Here you can see the spring for release itself. The main body of the magazine release is made from 3D printed part and I believe 5 M5 screw. I glued a part of the threaded part of the screw inside of the main body, so you know, so it can take some abuse, because fully 3D printed threads are not optional. So get yourself a screw, cut the head off, glue it inside of the release base so it holds longer. So this is the lever. Now the gearbox. So what you are gonna have to do is print yourself a new trigger and this little sucker that's, you know, moving with the contacts. I don't know how it's called correctly, but I guess you will get the point. A reason for switching this is that normally there isn't this part protruding, and we need that for the safety to work like this. The thing is that you actually don't need to print this sliding sucker there if you are not using ambidextrous selectors like I do, because then you would just switch the trigger and use your AK bits, AK fire selector bits on the right side of the gearbox. Yeah, so that's that. What you will have to change anyway is your left side selector plate. Even if you are using just left side selector option, you will have to switch this one. As I mentioned, I'm using ambidextrous fire selector, so I had to modify my gearbox by drilling here 2 M3 holes and getting rid of some of the material around this area. If you want to do that, keep in mind that basically you are gonna do permanent damage to your shell, so it might not be usable in, for example, AK bodies. That's up to you. If you want to drill these holes, print yourself a template which will align with the bearing holes, and using the template you can drill these holes for right side selector plate correctly. So the last thing about the gearbox is this adapter plate. Put a 2 M3 nuts in there, screw it to your gearbox. Something similar is used on some MP5s which are using V3 gearbox, so that's nothing new. The cable management is rather special. I can see this S shape. You will have to use rather thinner cables, not some thick silicone type performance cables, let's say, and they are gonna have to fit in a channel on the left side of the shell, of the lower receiver, which would be here. I hope that was visible enough. So to the assembly, first insert your gearbox inside the lower. For that, oh yeah, now I can hear the clicks. Under this selector lever there is a spring and ball detent, again exactly as on your average AR selector. You can buy AR fire selector and use the spring and detent from it. Those levers are held in place by a pin that goes right through. Now to the assembly. Move the fire selector plate all the way to the right and set your fire selector to the position which corresponds to full auto position. And now it may take some time, but you have to seat those cables in place in order to have everything fit inside. So let me do it and I will be back. So I already have some training in this. It was kind of quick. Now you can see the gearbox is aligned, is parallel to the lower receiver. I can freely move it like this. This will allow me to correct any, I don't know, missteps I could have done with the fire selector. For example, you can see this is on a full auto. This is almost in the same position too, so I will lift the gearbox just slightly, just enough so I can rotate the levers and the selector plates. I will align it the way it should be, so when everything is aligned, the selector plates, the selector levers, and the gearbox in the lower receiver, I will install our grip. There is a cable hole in the grip at the front, and I will pass my cables there at first. Also, on the left side of the grip, there is a channel for the cables to go in. Now we'll route those cables through the channel I mentioned before. So now with the grip in its place, and for the record, I hate installing these grip screws, we'll install our hop-up. Maybe you ask yourself why we are installing the hop-up after the grip, that it might be in fact easier to install the hop-up before the grip. I like to install the grip first in order just to keep everything aligned, because if I were to install the barrel gearbox and a grip all together, it might have been too much for me. But you can install the hop-up before the grip. It will not change anything important. So and if your gearbox have a hole for this screw, as it should, it actually might be slightly easier to insert the hop-up before you start working on the grip. But it doesn't matter now. We've installed our hop-up. Now we will install our outer barrel housing, block, whatever, and its pin to hold it in place. Now everything should be aligned. The gearbox should be held in place by the outer barrel block and our grip. Now, when this is done, we will continue with the upper receiver. So first, the right side, I pull the dummy bolt imitation backwards, just enough so you can get it over the hop-up unit. Now be careful, because each of these sides have a slot here for corresponding piece on the grip right here. So keep in mind that you have to align those two slots together, as well as the ring around the barrel. Oh yeah, and also your fire selector, I almost forgot, have to be on a safe. And that's important bit. Now that's better. Put your wires like that under the imitation, and we can install our left side of the upper receiver. Now the mentioned quick spring change, as you can see, the halves are together. I can still access my gearbox. I would just have to, remove this screw as I mentioned before. So close it up. We will take our housing, put it in a place, and add the mentioned screw. So now we have a backplate retention button and its housing installed. We can add our backplate. This is a Razor Rail backplate. You can print yourself a stock for this gun, or you should be able to use any other EVO compatible accessories. These mounting points are supposed to be with spec of the real steel EVO. That's done. Retention button clicked, so as you can see it's in its place. So we will continue with the handguard. This retention pin I removed at the beginning of the video. Now the charging handle. This all will slide here. This gun is supposed to be compatible with any other EVO handguard. Keep in mind that maybe different barrel and barrel nut position will be needed. If I recall, I shared barrel step files, so you can edit the length by yourself in order to make any EVO handguard compatible. Now let's install our barrel nuts. The handguard is pretty sturdy, so the barrel nut is installed correctly. Now our barrel and a muzzle device. Muzzle device is normal counterclockwise M14 thread. The thread on the barrel itself is normal thread. So don't worry about installing the muzzle device first and then tightening everything down. You install it correctly once your muzzle device starts unscrewing itself from the barrel, thanks to the different threads. Now you can install your motor here. I will leave it empty because, as I mentioned, I'm waiting for a new one. Now, and this was basically a final step of assembling this 3D printed EVO 3 Plus running on a V3 gearbox. You can access the hop-up unit by cocking the charging handle. You can, put it in its slot so it will stay open, and you have easier access to the hop-up unit slider. And then you can, of course, HK slap it. This is it. here you can see that I misaligned my selector cover on the right side, so it's slightly off, but the ambidextrous system is working, so that's that.